Perfect. We're live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Mental Health Awareness Week. I'm really honored that I'm hosting the loneliness theme today, and I have quite an amazing group of coaches with me. I have Kate, Clive, and Moon. Before we dive into the topic of today, I would like just to bring your attention to the plan of the week. There's quite a number of sessions in store, and I think it would be useful probably for everybody just to have a quick look on what happened between today and Friday. Maybe Kate, can you just maybe walk us through very quickly through this slide, please?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Max. So today, right up until Friday, we've got a whole mixture of different things. So later on at the end of the day, Clive's going to be doing a mental fitness HIT session. So 25 minutes of really getting your mind moving and moving for that negative to positive mindset. And I'm going to be running a shorter version of that on Wednesday morning and Friday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then we've also got Mary, who unfortunately couldn't join us today. She was waylaid, but she.
So some delays with Kate. Yeah.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, you're back. There was just a moment of you stopped. So please continue, Kate.
Yeah. Yes, so we've got Mary. She's going to be on Wednesday afternoon. She's going to be looking at about how do you get from can't to can. And then she's also going to be rounding off the end of the week with looking at basically how to end your working day and how to start your weekend. And in between that, we've also got Moon, who I think quite a few people will be familiar with Moon from working with you, Max. And she's going to be helping us think about imposter syndrome. So something every day, basically.
That's really great. Thank you, Kate. I will publish and put an update after this meeting, so you can see this slide in the feed. So you don't need to take a screenshot as of now. So let's go back to our format side by side. So we are all in here. We will start with a very simple question. It's about our experience. So what we are hearing about loneliness in our day-to-day life, in our practice. So let's share our experience. So Clive, if you don't mind, we will start with you. And
yes.
I didn't properly introduce everybody. So as soon as you take turn, maybe you can just mention what you do, just as a one-liner of introduction for our audience. So Clive, over to you for the first question.
Cool, will do. Well, greetings one and all. My name's Clive Maxheath, and I am a mental fitness coach specialising particularly in public sector, law enforcement, education, and on the other side of my coaching practice, I'm a men's life coach. So two very different areas, but there is some crossover. And loneliness. Wow, I mean, where to start as a theme? It's rich, it's loaded, and I'd sort of consider there's a couple of different things for me here. There's one kind of sort of loneliness as a more general theme. And then there's the pandemic and the propensity for, not always, for some it's been different, but for a lot of people, myself included, the pandemic had the impact was maybe an increased propensity for loneliness. Particularly, I'll just name it, I'm an extrovert by nature, and I love being at gigs, at football matches, and just not having that. I found particularly challenging, and it has been a theme, both personally in my life and with clients as well, particularly men's clients. There's maybe a gender discussion we can have at some point, because there's definitely, this is an opinion, an increased propensity for men to experience loneliness for a number of reasons, systemic, psychological. I'll just leave it there for now. Throw a few grenades in the center of the table and see what goes off.
Yeah, thanks, Clive. I think you hit the pandemic button, so it's a kind of Pandora box. So that we are still understanding what was in there. So, Moon, what is your experience around the pandemic theme and loneliness?
Yes. Well, hi, everybody. It's good to be here. My name is Moon. Some of you might have seen me in Max live streams every day. So I particularly work with high achieving self professionals. Since we're all trained by positive intelligence, mental fitness is one of the things that we really focus on, which is this ability to handle life challenges. So for the past 2 years, what I've noticed, adding on what Clive said, the propensity of being more acutely aware of loneliness and how we might be isolating from each other. Things are definitely improving now in the UK. And I know every single one of us is now going back to working and interacting with each other. But let's not forget the past 2 years has been really tough on a lot of people. So what I've noticed actually, and I would love to share this, I think is this connection within ourselves. So as soon as the pandemic happens, I felt like more or less we are being forced into a kind of retreat. So our activities square meters, narrows down, and what that has brought is a huge opportunity for us to really to sit with ourselves, and with that, I've noticed is a lot of the loneliness that we experience actually is loneliness within ourselves. It's the fact that we don't know what to do with ourselves. When we are alone with ourselves, there's so much conflict. We can't sit still. We felt like we need to be doing certain things. And because of that, I felt like that could be an issue. If you can't spend time with yourself, it's really hard to do anything else. So that's one of my takeaway. And I had this really amazing experience pre-pandemic when I kind of went through this intentionally, the cycles of going into retreats and trying to because I noticed I can't sit with myself. It's really difficult for me, and maybe similar to to Clive. I consider myself to be an extrovert. So if I don't get this energy from other people, I feel really lost. So yeah, this connection within ourselves, but also this opportunity for us to reconnect with ourselves and potentially have much better relationship in our lives since the pandemic. What about you, Kate?
Well, so I'll speak out for the introverts because I'm borderline introvert. Get me in a training mode. I love it, but actually, in my element on my own. So actually, I was thinking about what I had heard from people around me, but you mentioned about how you experienced, and so did you, Clive, and I had almost like the opposite effect. So for me, having had years of being self-employed, having my own space, working from home or be out, suddenly having my husband, my 2 children in my working space was horrific. So it actually took me about 18 months to actually like my husband being in the same place as me during the day. And he knows that. I told him. But for me, it was like I was craving alone time. So mine was a very different experience. And what you said, Moon, really resonated was that because I'm very much, as you said, raw positive intelligence. So I've got a strong hyperachiever. So it's all about the doing and what's next. So one of the hardest things was being really with myself. So being alone wasn't just about going to the shops or, sort of watering the garden. It's really, really being alone with myself. And so that's something that I've had to learn how to be, to just not do and to just be quiet. Yet what I'm hearing from people, when I'm hearing from people about loneliness, sort of going back to work or just going out there, there's still a huge amount of fear. People have got comfortable in their own little bubbles, their own world, and to socialize, to have conversation, to share space is really daunting. You know, I'm definitely hearing that from family, but also from clients as well. It's that anxiety. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that.
Yeah, I do actually. I'm connecting some of the dots because Clive mentioned men's, and you mentioned getting out now, getting comfortable with the kind of situation. So since lockdown, I have a routine to go out in the park, and actually, I met so many neighbors that I was not before even talking to. I didn't know the names. So we connected, and it was nice. But it was the last week. I haven't seen one for quite a while. I said, well, how are things? He said, oh, I'm not getting out of the house really that much. I say, well, everything is okay. I say, I got so comfortable that now actually going out is an effort. And there was something else in the voice and the body language that he was not able to share or willing to share. They told me that especially men, because that's what I see, and even in my practice, they bottle up even more. They closed up in a kind of defense mechanism, and it takes a very long time to go back to where they were before, or in a better position. So even simple dialogue, getting out and asking person connect and the listening, I think it's very much needed right now. That's my experience. How does it land? How does it sound?
Jump in there, Max. So I'm hearing mix for me. I'm hearing a mixture of men and women, and one of the threads is because, as Moon said, we're all mental fitness coaches, but I definitely work with people who have confidence issues, and people who, and I'm getting men and women coming, and they talk about it quite openly that they're lacking confidence, whether it's sort of not sure of where they are in the right place in their job, or just they just feel as if there's something missing, and these are often quite senior people. And so I think that the pandemic has really eroded people's confidence, but people are being quite open about admitting it. It's been a doorway to a conversation, whereas I think maybe years ago people wouldn't have said, "Oh, confidence is an issue." I don't know if you're noticing any of that.
Yeah, I like the word eroded. It implies a slow process, but inevitable. And you see this cliff, really, a bit at a time, getting to a dangerous position where it's about to fall. So eroded confidence is a big thing. Last week I interviewed some undergraduates. I support a charity, and it was all fine. So they were the superstars. So they performed very well during the pandemic. They actually find opportunity to shine. But what I'm really concerned is what we don't hear about. What are the ones that they fell through the cracks? Maybe they didn't perform well. They don't have the confidence even to apply for a job. How do we give a voice to those that are lonely? They are in the house and they don't have a motivation to get out. That is the question I'm asking myself.
I'll jump in here. One of the things that the pandemic has done is vastly brought on the exact sort of service we're using today in terms of online connection and video. And I remember before the pandemic being a little bit like, I remember actually doing the PQ mental fitness training and thinking, yeah, it's delivered through an app, this video training. Yeah, not really my cup of tea. I was a bit kind of wary of it, or just a bit like, yeah, it's not. And I was blown away by how impactful it was, and how supported with online video Zooms with fellow people doing the course, with a community. Like it was incredible, and that's, I think, one of the opportunities for those that particularly are having trouble coming out of the house. You know, there is connection there. I know something that I've been part of an organisation called Men Speak for a number of years. They run men's groups, and during the pandemic, they ramped up their online to a point. They now run check-ins every day. They're there every day. So if any men are watching this and they're on the lookout for a men's group service, and I use that, you know, I duck in there as and when. But yeah, that was incredibly powerful in terms of maintaining connection and reducing the propensity of loneliness, just in terms of being able to plug into a group like that on a regular basis. So I think it's replaced maybe some of those things that became unavailable. And I think part of the renegotiation post-pandemic, and I think you've alluded to this, Kate, as well, this kind of reconnection piece is, what do I want to keep from that and what do I want to let go? And it's causing there's quite a lot of conflict going on. I know within myself as well. How does this work now? Like, you know, budgets have changed, ways people connect have changed. It's like a bit of a full-blown renegotiation across the board. So that's definitely something, a development that's been fast-tracked somewhat, I think, by the pandemic.
Yeah, that seems to be very powerful. We got a decision point of what we want to keep, of what we want to let go. The reconnection, renegotiation, it's not something we can do on our own in our rooms. So we do need to have it at this space online or physical, if possible, in order to get clarity and make a decision.
I have seen a lot of online communities thriving, including Facebook. I personally don't like to use Facebook, but I think in terms of training, especially in a private group or in a special themed group where people with specific challenges, for example, I was talking to a coach yesterday. She specializes in helping folks with ADHD and autism. And she said there's a huge amount of groups out there, community, that is built to support each other. And, you know, talking about giving these people voices and platform to ask questions and to show vulnerability, I think technology has definitely not let us down. But there is also this element of maintaining your boundary, because sometimes it is too much. I have to basically cut down using WhatsApp because I was in so many groups and I found the constant notification really irritating. And I went ahead and just stopped all the notification on my phone. So now my phone is basically dead. I don't hear any notification. But like you said, Clive, this is ongoing negotiation. How much do I want to know? How much is too much? And when it goes back to loneliness, we can be in a huge group with many vibrant messages and texting, but feeling not seen and heard. And I have conversations with people, friends who belong to the same group, and they just hated it. So as I suggest, basically turning off the notification. That's my to-go, almost like just turn it off. And he said, that has made a huge impact in his life. He said, I felt so much better. I don't need to constantly look at my phone. So I guess for me, it become almost like a second nature, like you said, Max, earlier, is to just probe a little bit deeper, like what is really going on in your life? How are you feeling? And when you see the body language and the people are, you know, trying to brush you off, like, well, yeah, everything is okay. That's a really good opportunity to, if you do care about that person, to just ask a little bit more. And you might be surprised, you know, like a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like opening this gateway for people to share. So yeah, that's been my observation.
And I think it's also taking that coach approach, isn't it? Of asking, leaving them space to answer, but also the belief that they can make a choice and make changes. Because when when you're in the moment, we've all been there, where you think there's no choice, this is it, this is the way it is for the rest of my life. And we know as coaches that isn't the case. Sometimes by just even saying it out loud, how you're feeling, suddenly it's not quite as bad as what it feels in your head. And it allows you that space to explore what, the conversations I have with people who are anxious about going out. It's like, well, what's the small step? What's the baby step of that you would feel okay about doing? And it's just building it up and building it up. Going back to the confidence bit, to build up your confidence that you are, because some of this is about self-isolation almost, isn't it? Where you're putting yourself out of situations, and then you can then feel lonely because you're not part of the group, the wider group, and everyone else is having fun and doing things and you're not. So I think a lot of it is about just building up the confidence in that little steps, and allowing everyone to go at their own pace.
Yeah, for me, I also personally build my creature's comfort, this room, place, and my habits, because I had to do it as everybody else. But my way to get out of my comfort zones is to have an accountability buddy. Oh, it's just a buddy, without using maybe difficult words. Someone that I talk to 10 minutes a week and just say, this is what I want to do. And the person will not keep me accountable to the letter and set the deadlines, but only by the fact that I share with another human beings my intentions is so powerful. For me, if I have to give one tip out, is find someone that you can share your wishes, your intentions on a regular basis. You have a ritual in that, and then it will make really. It's kind of magic. It will push you out of your comfort zone one step forward, definitely in the right direction.
Yeah. Something that's come up for me. I think the word was mentioned, connection, as part of this. And I think maybe in the past I naively thought that if I was just amongst people, sort of talking or with friends, or whatever, that I wasn't lonely. But actually, it's more about connection and quality connection. And like you said, I mean, it might be with myself as well at times. But yeah, there's something about that in terms of, for me, it's a good sense check in terms of, how connected do I feel, and I guess these days I'm after more quality than quantity in that sense. But I think that can be part of it as well. It might, I guess what I'm saying here is it might not actually be obvious on the surface that someone's lonely. They might be out all the time and with people all the time, but they're not having quality connection with who they're with for whatever reason. So there might again need to be some renegotiation there. So I think that's an important part of this as well, for me.
I love that. I think for me, one of the solutions I found that has been really effective when it comes to handling loneliness is, Kay, you already mentioned this, is giving ourselves permission. So for me personally, is permission to rest. And it is often taken me getting very, very sick to allow myself to just completely slow down and not do anything. And even then, last year around November, I had a chest infection. It was really serious. I still struggle to rest. I just felt like even as I was coughing, like there's no tomorrow, the neighbors probably really worried, thinking I had COVID, and I still couldn't rest. So this permission piece for me is, and this has shown up a lot in my clients as well. I often ask them, how do you allow yourself to rest? How do you allow yourself to do things that actually brings you joy instead of pleasing somebody? So when you're saying yes, saying no, all of that.
This is very interesting. I'm really curious, Moon. How do you give a permission to yourself? This is we do a lot of these kind of things in coaching. But if you don't have a coach, how do you give yourself permission? You give a pat on the back. You write it down. What do you do?
For me, it's just stop struggling. Stop beating myself up. Instead of saying like, I am a lazy piece of beep, and just acknowledge, what I said. So again, I got COVID in March. So I remember having this internal conversation and I said to myself, literally, I said to myself, it's okay, just rest. These 4 words, it's okay, just rest. And that's kind of like giving myself a signal. And I guess it depends. Maybe there are people who find it a lot easier to just let go of what they need to do. But for me, it is really, really a big struggle. So that's a really good question, though, Max. So when it comes to clients, some of the good things I heard from my clients is they would say they would on the to-do list, instead of just everything is about work, they will also put things that makes them happy. For example, one of them really likes to have agenda, and she said, so my permission for me today is not to have any agenda after work and just see what happens. To her it's crazy because she needs to plan everything, including the movie that she's going to watch. So I think that kind of liberty is quite personal.
Yeah, what I do is for me is I have a simple list of what is okay, what is not okay. It's kind of simplest possible language that I can find, and then it has me with permissions, has me with boundaries, because I find it very powerful to say what is not okay and what is, and then you write it down on paper. I'm a big fan of old-fashioned, but if it's not on paper, it doesn't exist for me. So that is a simple technique that I learned to do on a regular basis during lockdown. It really helped me a lot.
So building on Moon and solutions, one of the things I think for me is it's going almost like that inwards. It's like understanding what this loneliness is, because sometimes we have words that I feel lonely, but we don't really know what we really feel. It's just, so it's acknowledging that you have this feeling, and then it's about starting to it's almost as we talk about that blameless discernment, almost like sitting back as if you were this other being in front of you and just unpicking what exactly is going on in here. Is it because you're tired? Thinking about, is it because you're overstressed? Is it because other people are doing things and you're not? Just start unpicking what it is and just keep going. Well, what actually am I really feeling? And sometimes you can often be surprised what it is that you're feeling. And you might be okay about being on your own, but because everyone else is connected or going out, you're feeling as if you should be doing. So I think it's going back to inside to work out what is it you're really feeling. And then you can do something about it, but you have to identify it first.
Yeah, I think in terms, just quickly, something for me in terms of doing something about it is, I know I do think sometimes there's a bit of a life stage thing to this as well. I think there's, at least in my experience, an increased propensity to feel more lonely as we get older. I know for me, I'm 40 years old, I've got a kid, got a mortgage, got those fun things, and it's like there's more responsibility. So it can be very easy to prioritize family and work, and personal relationships and other friends can come later on. And actually what's been very serving for me is just to create little pockets of space to bring intentionality to ensuring I'm nourishing and keeping those personal connections that I want to maintain going. And it might be a quick voice notes have been incredible for me as an in-between a phone call, which can these days be quite, I don't know, invasive, but oh my God, someone's phoning me. But a voice note enables, can enable some real, really nice sharing, and then it can be picked up. And yeah, I've got a friend that we go back and forwards sort of every day, every couple of days on voice note, and that again is a way we can listen in and be connected in our own times that fits in with the mad schedule that the mad modern day schedule a lot of us keep. So it's just a couple of sort of thoughts there.
That's a nice one, Clive. It's it's the simplicity sometimes is the essence. It doesn't have to be a real-time call. This voice message is quite personal, direct, to create connection, and you can listen again. So it's a wonderful way. I like the word. I would like we are at the end of the sessions right now, but I would like just to pick on the word that you mentioned, Clive, and nourishing. And I think we talk about nourishing self as a priority, and then nourishing our relationship. at the same time. That takes attention, but it doesn't take much. It can be simple steps. We talked about boundaries, talking, daily check-ins, giving permission, being gentle with ourselves. So these are the few things that we mentioned today. That is, it's not just for yourself, but for the people around you. I think loneliness, we needed to keep an eye for loneliness and look around ourselves, not just in our inner circle. Is everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, there was fantastic conversation, Kate, Moon, Clive. Thank you. I just for our audience, I will share the plan for the rest of the week as soon as we finish this session. So I will post it. Stay tuned. There's a lot of interesting topics, and looking forward to see you on this space. Thank you, everybody, and see you soon.
Thank you,
Max.
Thanks, Max.
Bye.
Bye.